Joining me now is Tina Sandry. She is the CEO of the Forest Hills Senior Living Community in D.C., and she oversaw the effort to get her staffers vaccinated. Tina, thank you for coming on. So you didn't require your employees to get vaccinated, but tell us about your experience ensuring your employees who got vaccinated and that they would feel comfortable doing so.
Good evening. We're very happy to share our story. We did not mandate the vaccination. Our leadership team held a meeting and kind of looked at our workforce with the two of our corporate values, which are compassion and respect, through the lens of everything they had been through in the past year. Everything from having to pick up for coworkers for 14-day quarantines, or people who are out sick longer with no notice. Most of our workforce have not had a vacation in a year. Many of them, unfortunately, have had to hold hands of family members that residents who had passed and family members who could not be here. We've had to fill in for activities. Everyone's had to learn how to do tech and Zoom and help our residents. And just the demands have been so much so. In addition to weekly swabs and testing, we just felt it was so much to ask our workforce to mandate an emergency use authorization drug into their bodies as well. And so we decided, using the same compassionate, person-centered approach that we use with our residents, to apply that to our workforce as well. And so we did not mandate it. But we're very happy that we have reached herd immunity levels at 80% of our employees currently vaccinated, and we have another immunization clinic tomorrow. So our numbers are still climbing, and we're very pleased with that, especially since our workforce is 80% people of color.
So you said you were using the core values of compassion and respect in this regard. Tell us what that was like. Were a lot of the staff members hesitant to get the vaccine? Tell us how you sort of worked with them through this so that you would reach herd immunity.
Well, I think, yes, they were hesitant, just like much of the general population has been hesitant. Many people, when change comes, even if it's good change, are stressed. And so trying to deliver that message in a way that was culturally sensitive, respectful for their needs, meeting them where they were at the time for their curiosities of information. We since last December, we're having a theme of the week within our vaccination communications. We push them out in 8 different ways, being sensitive to people's learning styles. Some people are auditory learners, some people are visual learners, some people are more analytical in their thinking, and we had to provide them more data. Some people are more relational. And so we had conversations what that might mean for them and their immune compromised family members. We also then pushed out the different types of messages in 8 different ways. So if there's something that's important, our team likes to say, what are the 8 ways that you pushed it out? So it could be email, it could be text, it could be phone call, it could be a poster, it could be a handout at the check-in spot, it could be a display board. And so we had lots of different ways. It could be a slip of paper that you take home with you. And so we really tried to allow the communications to meet people where they were, and not necessarily us just pushing out a memo saying there's going to be a clinic here on this date, show up.
Right. So given what you have learned on the smaller scale, is there anything else you think the government should be doing to convince people to get vaccinated?
If there's one thing that we learned from this process, it's to really understand who we're dealing with beyond the check boxes of race, of Caucasian, Black, Asian, and so forth. So I'm an Asian, and I might need a different message as a Chinese person than a Japanese person, than an Indian person, than a Thai person, someone from Thailand, and to dig deeper. So we knew here in Washington, D.C., there's a significant part of our workforce that happens to be Black or African American. And so we started targeting our messages with cultural sensitivities, respected sources from historically Black colleges, the Black Nurses Association, the Black Coalition Against COVID, and so forth. And we found that we were actually able to move that needle with our African Americans who identify as Black Americans. We had not been as successful in getting to our workforce who identifies more as African immigrants. And to this date, we're still looking for those resources. So we had one department head who experienced COVID directly himself as well as with his family, and had him talking to some of our frontline staff because he was from a country in Africa. And even in Africa, our workforce, we have people from Ethiopia, Cameroon, Nigeria, and other countries. And so we have to hear what their concerns are, perhaps coming from their countries, and any feelings they might have about the government, and how they're getting their information. What are the sources that our immigrant workers here getting? And kind of listen really hard.
Yeah, I think a key too is just not judging and trying to understand where they're coming from and why, as you said, depending on their background, their culture, and so forth. Really interesting conversation, Tina, to hear how you have handled the situation with your business. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And back to